If you're tired of feeling lost in this massive world of cybersecurity, then this video is for you. My name is Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers. I've been in cybersecurity since January of 2023, and in comparison, I'm a newbie to the game, but it's one of those things that I dove into the deep end mainly because of the fact that I was hacked. So I was socially engineered in the 2022 approximately, and I lost most of my money. It was a long con. It was 3 months long, and they made me believe that they were actually real. It was a honeypot combined with a few different tactics that they used, and they took me for most of my money, and I was traumatized, and I didn't know what happened to me, but I made a promise to myself that it would never happen again, and I threw myself into the deep end of cybersecurity. I got my certifications. I started this channel as a way to help other people inside the community, and I have never looked back. And recently, I landed a full-time job, and there are a few things that I'm going to share with you in this video that will hopefully allow you to do the same thing. And one of the big things about it is that knowing what to do, or knowing what steps to take, the path to take, is kind of the big thing for most people, because it's such a big world and most people don't know where it begins, where it ends, what the first step should be, so on and so forth. So this is essentially the purpose of this video. I'm not going to be sharing technical jargon with you. We're not going to go through tactics and techniques and things like that. It's more so the path to take, what to focus on, how to set yourself apart from your competition, and how to get your foot in the door. That's basically what we're going to be talking about in this video. And that's the tagline of this video, right? This is the hook for this video. We're going to unlock the secrets to a successful career in this field with a comprehensive roadmap, guiding you from a beginner to an expert, ideally, if that is the goal that you have for yourself, if that's the ambition that you have for yourself. Now, the first thing that we need to understand, and I'm sure you already kind of get this, so this isn't news to anybody. Hopefully it's not news to anybody. Hopefully you're aware of what's going on with the tech space in general, not just cybersecurity. The landscape is evolving constantly. It's no longer just about firewalls and antivirus, and it wasn't too long ago that was the case. You really just needed to be good at configuring firewalls, configuring antivirus software. But as hackers became more sophisticated, the web of technologies and the practices to protect the data, to protect the systems, to protect the network at large, all of those things became more sophisticated as well because the hacker became more sophisticated. Every time there was a new defense put in place, the hacker had to evolve to get past that defense. So as the defensive world of cybersecurity evolves, so do hackers, because they're not going to stop doing what they're supposed to be doing. They are hired by countries. You know, there are state-level actors, state-sponsored actors that have been hired by countries. The nemesis of the United States, for example, or whatever country you're watching this from, there is likely a chance that there is another country that has a team in place that their entire job for their career is to try to hack into your country. And so this is one of these things that they're not going to stop. They're just going to persist. They're going to keep moving forward, and they have to find new ways of attacking you. And because of that, the landscape continues to evolve, and defensive security will evolve, defensive tools will evolve, and then so will offensive security and offensive tools. All of those will evolve. The attackers will start to evolve. And it's just it's a continuous cycle that will take place. So we live in this world where everything is connected. It creates a big, massive attack surface for these cyber criminals, and the rise of AI and machine learning technology and AI agents is transforming how we actually defend against these threats, but then it also transforms how we are attacked, right? So if somebody can actually train the AI to do their reconnaissance for them, or to do the coding for their exploit for them, whatever it may be. And again, what the stuff that we get as consumers, right? So the AI that you and I as a consumer get access to does not have the permissions in place for us to say, hey, listen, I want you to create this exploit. But the state level hackers, the people who are actually sponsored by a country, all of those safeguards for that AI have been lifted. So the AI that they get access to does not have the little guardrails on the sides, or what are the bumpers, right? If you've ever gone bowling, there are bumpers sometimes that they put in place so that your ball doesn't go into those little alleys or in the gutters, as they call them. So those things are not in place when somebody is sponsored by a government and they basically have free reign to do everything that they want to do. So those AI tools can be used for offensive attacks, for offensive exploitation and malicious actions. And at the same time, we can also use these tools, these AI and machine learning tools, to transform how we defend against those advanced threats. So this is the landscape as it stands. It's very much evolved. It's very much a case where you cannot be competitive if the only thing that you know how to do is firewalls and antivirus. You will be driven out. You will be filtered out very, very quickly. So whether or not you like it, you have to evolve your skill set to meet with the demands of the marketplace. So as we talk about this, you need to keep in mind what field of cybersecurity, what subcategory of cybersecurity you want to specialize in. And there are a few general categories, right? So there is network security, which talks about the securing of the network at large. So a network could be 5 computers, it could be 50, 500, or 5,000 endpoints. And that's a massive network, right? So that's a company that is most likely publicly traded. They have multiple cities and maybe even multiple countries that is inside of their network, and securing that network would be your job. Well, now probably if it's 5,000 endpoints, you're not the only person that's securing that network. Most likely there are going to be a massive team of people that are just dedicated to network security. And then preventing intrusions falls under network security. Analyzing the network traffic falls under network security. And then there's the digital and technical logical elements of the network security. And then there's the physical network security. And if you want to be a physical security officer, that's probably not for the scope of this conversation, because we're talking about cybersecurity, which is in the digital realm. But there is physical security protocols that need to be in place, and that you could very well just say, hey, you know what, I want to go on the physical security side of things. I want to make sure that the devices themselves in the warehouse are taken care of. I want to make sure we have a really good security system in place. And I want to make sure that, the locks and the entrance mechanisms, the key cards to get into the building, to get into this massive warehouse that houses all of this sensitive equipment. I want to make sure we have multiple layers of entry that people would have to go through and validate themselves in a variety of different ways. And there's going to be physical security cards, there's going to be biometrics, there's going to be knowledge-based questions, and a variety of different entry point authentications that need to take place before somebody can actually get into the building. So that all of that falls under network security. So within network security, there are other subcategories as well that you can specialize in to even be more niche, be more specialized in this massive world of cybersecurity. And then we have cloud security. So a part of the network could be the cloud. So you can have a hybrid type of an environment where there's physical servers that are available that belong to your company, and then there are cloud virtual machines, cloud-based assets that are available that people can access through just the internet. As long as they have internet access, they can access these cloud-based technologies. And then there is cloud-centric, so meaning not even cloud-centric, it's like cloud only. So there could be an entirely virtual environment that the company wants to just focus on, and they rent all of their physical hardware from a place like AWS or Google Cloud or anything of those lines. And then there could be a physical only environment, which is, we're seeing much less of these things because it just doesn't make sense to be physical devices only, because every time that there's an update that takes place, an upgrade that takes place, you have to get new physical hardware. So it's not practical for companies to be physical only. So it's either going to be a hybrid type of an environment where they do have physical servers, these massive things that have been put into a warehouse, a central location that the network of employees can access from various cities and states and countries. That could be a case. So it's kind of a hybrid environment, or it could be cloud centric, where they're just renting all of that equipment from various warehouses that belong to Amazon Web Services, for example. So no matter what that infrastructure, no matter what that, what do we call it, the topology is that is set up for that company, you need to be focused on the security of those cloud infrastructure, the data that's inside of that cloud, the applications that are inside of that cloud. And encryption is a big piece of this, using the highest level of encryption that you possibly can, using the highest level of hashing algorithms that you possibly can, making sure that there's several layers of authentication. As we mentioned earlier, there's multi-factor authentication. No longer is it safe to do two-factor authentication. It's like you want to have multiple factors of authentication, especially if the data is extremely sensitive. And so that ends up just becoming another subcategory that you can specialize in under cloud security. So it's like you have cybersecurity at large, and then you have cloud security, and then inside of cloud security, authentication or identity and access management. That's IAM. That's kind of one of the acronyms that falls under this big piece of cybersecurity. That could be one of those things that you specialize in. Or data security, right? Data at rest, data in transit. That could be one of the things that you specialize in. Application security, infrastructure security. There's just so many things that you can specialize in. And I would say kind of lean towards the things that you understand well, but at the same time you also have an interest in, right? So if you aren't naturally curious, or if it doesn't naturally interest you, it's going to be hard to keep up with all of the evolutions that are going to take place. And application security is kind of the I would say the highest level. If we were to think about the OSI model, where we have the physical layer, and then it goes all the way to layer 7, which is application security. Application is like the most fine-tuned version of it, where if there's a web application or a mobile application, all of that would be your purview, right? And you would be focusing on making sure the application itself is secure, the source code is secure, there are no other vulnerabilities that can be exploited, and you're constantly attacking the application itself, because you could be a part of offensive security or defensive security, which is kind of like the other element of specializing, right? It's like, do you want to be inside of defensive security, or do you want to be inside of offensive security? And finally, we have AI and machine learning, which is the most recent evolution of technology as well as cybersecurity. So you can integrate the APIs of various artificial and machine learning tools with defensive appliances to create automated agents, these artificial intelligence agents that are integrated with these massive series of tools, the suite of tools that your company uses. You need to learn how to make these technologies communicate with each other. AI is technically a form of technology, even though a lot of people are saying, oh, it feels like I'm talking to a human being or whatever. Like, we're trying to get closer and closer to making AI sound human, but it is a technology. So the ability to learn how to integrate that piece of technology, how to connect that piece of technology to a piece of monitoring software or something like that, so that the AI can process through the logs much faster than any human being can do, and then try to sift and sort through those logs and learn the patterns, right? That's where machine learning comes in, digesting all of that data and learning the patterns inside of that data to try to establish a baseline, and then to try to see if there are any anomalies that veer from that baseline to say, hey, potentially I feel like there's some kind of a threat taking place that you need to pay attention to, and then it starts doing everything else that it's starting to do. One of the big things that I want people to rest assured with is that there is, because of the fact that AI can be autonomous and it can do a lot of things by itself, there are permissions that have to be granted to these AI agents, that there is going to be most likely never administrative privileges or root privileges that are going to be assigned to these AI agents, mainly because of the fact that the company C-suite executives if they're smart, right, they wouldn't say, okay, the AI has free reign over everything. It can do anything that it wants to do. It's like, that's highly impractical. I don't think they're going to do that, which means the human will always need to be in place. And the main reason for this is because you can't really hold the AI accountable. You can hold the human accountable. You can say, hey, if you do these types of things, we can put you in court proceedings, and we can fire you and fine you, send you to jail. And the fear of that human being will most likely keep them in line, right? Most likely they will not do all of the unethical things that could potentially damage and destroy the business, because of the fact that you can have accountability pushed towards the human being. You really can't hold AI accountable. If you give it free rein, it's going to probably do whatever the hell it wants to do, and that's on you. So because of that very reason, they're not going to give the highest level of privileges to the AI tools, which means that you can rest assured that you will always have a place in the world of technology, so long as you are keeping up with the technology, right? So if you don't know how to interact with the AI, how to engineer the AI, how to maintain and do all of those administrative tasks that need to be done, be an AI manager, so to speak. If you don't know how to do that, then most likely you're going to be filtered out, and then you're going to become obsolete inside of this massive competitive world of technology. So these are the specialties that you can technically take. And then within every single one of these categories, there's going to be the defensive security and then the offensive security side of things. Defensive security, acting as people who are literally defending the technology and becoming analysts and engineers. And then you have the offensive security, the people whose entire job is to attack these technologies and try to break the technology so that they can get ahead of the malicious actors that will try to hack the company and point out the vulnerabilities in advance so that the defensive team can fix them. So these are the specializations that can be chosen, that you can choose from, depending on what you're most interested in and what you're well versed in, and you can expand on. The skills and certifications that would apply to this are fairly generic, right? So again, I'm not going to be giving you technical skills and things like this. I'm going to give you categories of skills that you need to focus on. The proficiency would be the technical proficiency. For some reason, I just had a brain fart. Technical proficiency, so understanding networking, what networking actually is, right? What are the networking devices? What are the networking protocols? Understanding the various operating systems that are typically used, which for the most part is either going to be Unix/Linux or Windows. That's pretty much it. There are other operating systems that take place, but they all have this baseline of the original operating systems, like the Windows, like the Unix. And I think even Windows has some elements of Unix infrastructure or Unix foundations, fundamentals that are used to develop it. From what I understand, I could be wrong, but I think I remember reading that at some point. So these are the mothers of technology, operating systems. Is the Unix and the Windows, and then built on top of Unix was the Mac OS, which is another version, like this evolved version of it. But again, it's kind of rests on top of Unix, and then Linux has elements of Unix in it that were embedded into it, and then it has other evolutions and of course other distributions that are available. So you can specialize in individual distributions of Linux, or you can specialize in individual protocols of networking or individual programming languages. And the programming languages are also this massive world just by themselves. You could be a Python developer and never run out of things to learn, and you will constantly be developing more Python code and learning new skills and building new scripts, and that could be your specialization, right? That could be your skill that you can go into to focus on. So all of those things fall under technical proficiency. Then there are these certifications that they're always coming out with new certifications. So this is, as technology evolves, so will the list of certifications. And Security Plus is kind of like the foundational when it comes down to security. And then we have Certified Information Security System Specialist, and then we have the Cybersecurity Analyst, CYSA Plus. Then there's PenTest for Penetration Tester, Certified Ethical Hacker, and any other industry-recognized certifications that are valuable for your credibility, and they're valuable to help develop your expertise. But I will say that these are not absolute requirements. One of the reasons why companies list these as requirements is because they just want to know that you've gone through the education, and at the very least you can persist long enough to get certified in something. It shows, yes, you have technical skills and knowledge, but it also shows the ability to stick to something until you finish it, until you get to the end of it, which is the certification itself. So these are some of these certifications. There are very many of them. There's Network Plus, there's Linux Plus, there's CompTIA's suite of certifications, and then there are other companies and organizations that also issue certifications. So there are so many of them. Cisco, for example, Cisco CCNA is like one of those big ones. If you're interested in networking, you can learn this, get the CCNA. Yeah, Cisco Certified Network Agent or Administrator. I think that's what it stands for. But there are just so many different types of certifications, and of course, as AI gets more commonplace, there are going to be certifications that are in place. There are already certifications that are in place that will require or that will help you get that initial foundational knowledge for AI, because it's not going to be be all end all. Whatever the certification is, the certification of Security Plus is not the be all end all of security. That's why they have new versions of the certification that comes out every few years, because they too have to keep up with the evolution of the marketplace and the evolution of the tech space. So there is no such thing as, okay, I'm done learning. That's not how it works. You are constantly learning and you're constantly evolving. Otherwise, you will become obsolete and then you will be weeded out. That's basically the pattern. API integration is another one of these things. I've already touched on this a little bit, but this is increasing in popularity. Even before AI became a thing, the integration of the APIs of various companies and various technologies was always a key element of this. So think about the Coinbase application where you can buy cryptocurrency. Coinbase is connected to a lot of different banks, right? And when you want to transfer money into Coinbase, you actually get a list of banks that show up that allow you to connect your bank account to Coinbase, and then from there you can transfer money back and forth between your bank account to Coinbase, and that's all API integration. It's the API, the programming interface of those different companies that allows you to connect your bank account to Coinbase so that you can transfer money back and forth. And that's just one example. There are so many different examples of this that take place. The Uber app is one of these things. DoorDash that integrates with Uber, or Uber Eats, I guess you can say. There's just so many different versions of this that were already up and running before AI even came into play. But it's just that now that AI is in play, you can now also use the API of ChatGPT, for example, and then integrate that API with a security appliance, and now you can create a security agent. So these are very one of these like essential skill sets that will be even more popular as we move forward with AI and technology evolution, because everything is going to move towards the ability to integrate AI, to the ability to manage AI, and all of that goes into the conversation of API. And finally, the soft skills themselves. So this is not to be discounted, right? One of the things that I have been complimented on as I was going through my interview processes was my ability to communicate. And this is one of those really, really important things, because there are some people who are geniuses when it comes down to technology, but they're not really good at communicating. And when you have a CEO that's sitting in a room that you need to create some kind of a report for, or you need to deliver some kind of presentation to, you need to be able to communicate. You need to have this ability to communicate with the other human beings. It's not just your ability to communicate with the technology itself. And even if you aren't going to be the one that's going to present to the C-suite executives, you will still have to communicate with your manager, or you'll have to communicate with your peers. And if you don't know how to do that, you are not going to stand out. This is like a very, very key skill set when it comes down to standing out and being competitive in the marketplace. Problem solving, essential, critical thinking, teamwork, all of these things are crucial for collaborating with various teams and just making yourself stand out. So this is not something to be discounted. And to keep in mind, there is also empathy, like the ability to relate to other human beings and the ability to understand where people are coming from and what their motivations are and what makes them tick, what makes them get up in the morning. All of those things are absolutely critical to standing out in this massive competitive world. Even if the world is technology and cybersecurity, you still need the ability to communicate and interact with other human beings. And that feeds perfectly into the conversation of positioning yourself to stand out amongst all of your competition, because it's just flooding, right? The world of tech is being flooded with people who want to get into tech because you can make so much money in tech and do all of the things that you can do. You can literally make hundreds of thousands from salary. Never mind the fact that you can develop technology and develop software that can make you a millionaire and billionaire. Never mind that. If you actually just go into being a salaried employee, you will make a really, really good money. So that's one of those things that is a big deal, and very many people want to get into the field because of that deal. And you need to position yourself to stand out from everybody else in your competition. So the first thing is building a portfolio. So the certification is important, right? So having a certification saying, I know CompTIA CySec+, like that's important, but you need to showcase the skill that goes along with that knowledge. Just having the certification is not enough anymore. You need to develop some kind of a portfolio. So you can create a security audit project where you will create an in-depth security audit that somebody can access the file and be like, oh, wow, this person really did a good amount of research. They did a good amount of risk analysis and mitigation analysis, and they created this report and all of that stuff. That's very, very important. Pen testing reports are very, very important. If you can create a report that will say, hey, this is all of the attacks that I ran. This is exactly what you can do to duplicate my attacks. And by the way, these specific attacks generated these types of results, and we were able to exploit these vulnerabilities, and this is the amount of damage that it can cause if somebody else does it, etc. Pen testing reports, really, really powerful. GitHub repositories, really, really powerful. I feel like every single person who is inside of the tech space, especially if you're in programming of some kind, you need to have a GitHub repo where you upload your work, that you can say, hey, listen, I created this, and then it can be tracked back to you. Therefore, it's a demonstration of your skill set and your knowledge. And if you can actually build a tool, if you can develop software, then that's even better. So these are building a portfolio is one of the key things that's going to make you stand out. Instead of saying that I can do these things, you can say, I have done these things, and here's a link so you can see the proof that I have done these things. And this is very, very important. And I have a GitHub repository. I also have this YouTube channel, which is another way of demonstrating skill and demonstrating knowledge base and all of those things. So these things help you as you go along your search, or as you go along your journey to getting to this field. Building that portfolio is really, really important. If you're not going to build a YouTube channel, you have to have some kind of a Google Drive link, some kind of a Drive link that has all of the documents that demonstrate your knowledge base. For example, security audits, for example, a report for pen testing, the GitHub repository. All of these things are so critical. If you don't have them, you are not going to be considered. I'm just telling you this right now. There are other people who do have them, and those people will get priority when they're applying to jobs. An online presence is also a really, really important thing. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to post content if you don't want to. But if you have an online profile, for example, like a LinkedIn profile that you can use to post a link to your GitHub repository, right? So you say, I created this thing on GitHub. Here's the link to it. Here's a brief description of what it does. That is added to your LinkedIn professional profile, which other recruiters actually will search for. They'll search for people that have your skill set, and then they'll review the profile, and they'll be like, oh, you know what? This guy actually has developed some portfolio, right? That he has a portfolio link, or she has this GitHub link and that she's posted. And all of these things are really, really amazing to make yourself stand out. And then there's the other element that you can actually connect to other people inside of the industry. You can connect to recruiters. You can connect to people who are working at the companies that you really want to work at. And then you build a relationship with them. You guys exchange ideas back and forth. And then one day you can say, hey, listen, can I put your name down as a referral source when I apply to this one job because I really want to work at Tesla, for example? And then that person, if they refer a new employee, they'll actually get paid to do it. So they will get some kind of like a fee or something anytime that they refer somebody that ends up getting hired with the company. So it's in their benefit, but they don't want to just refer anybody. So you need to demonstrate that you can connect with them. You need to demonstrate that you can communicate with them. You need to build some kind of a rapport with that person before they're willing to let you use their name as a referral on a job application. So that's very, very important, right? Connecting and networking with these professionals is very important. I'm sure you can think of somebody that got hired to do something and they were not technically the best person, but they got hired because they knew someone in the company, and so they leveraged that contact. They leveraged that connection. Social media content ends up being one of these things that also helps you establish an online presence. So Medium articles are a really good way to do this. You don't have to create videos if you don't want to. If you're not good on video, but you're good at writing, that's the same thing as developing social media content. There are discussions on Reddit or any kind of industry forum that you can go into, or some kind of an online community that you can go to where you can make yourself known and be available and connect with everybody else. LinkedIn communities, LinkedIn groups are just another one of these things that there are so many of them. You can go inside of these groups and start participating in the conversation, put in your 2 cents, make sure that you actually give really good advice or good feedback, communicate, and essentially add value to those discussions, not just be somebody that just says, oh, yes, I agree with this. Like, don't be that kind of a person. Add some kind of a value to the conversation so that you can display your knowledge. And of course, you can network through social media content as well. You can build your reputation through social media content as well. All of that builds up to this slide right here, your actual security path, your cybersecurity career path, right? So assuming that you have done those things, assuming that you have chosen a specialty, you have gained a good amount of knowledge, you have your online media social media profile, you have a portfolio put in place, you have maybe social media content that's on your LinkedIn or on Medium or even on YouTube, something like that. Assuming that you have checked off those boxes and you've built a presence for yourself and you've built your skill set and your knowledge base and experience, then you start looking at the career path itself. Now, if you don't have any kind of experience and you just got into the world by getting a certification and you just went to school and you got your certification, there are going to be ways, and this is why I call it the free level, where you just work for free. They used to call this apprenticeships, where you would be somebody's apprentice and you say, hey, listen, I'll work for you for free because I want to learn what it's like to be in the workforce, okay? I want to learn what it's like to actually do this job. And because I'm so committed and I really want to get into this world, I'm willing to work for free. And this is something that if you don't have skill set or knowledge base, like some people are going to be like, okay, well, if this guy's an idiot, then I have to train him and it's going to take energy and time away from me. But if you actually have a certification and you're willing to work for free, this is unbelievable. This is going to make you stand out because it's very hard to say no to free work, especially if it's from somebody who has established some kind of skill set or some kind of knowledge for themselves. Now, if you need to pay your bills, then one of the ways that you can do this is do your day job, do the job that you have right now that you've had for a while, do that in full-time capacity, but on weekends or in the evenings, go work for this person, go do this company, go do the things that you can do to transition to that world and do it for free. This is not something that people want to hear because everybody wants to immediately get into cybersecurity and make $100,000 a year. I understand. However, I'm telling you, this is one of the greatest ways to make yourself stand out. And if you don't want to go, or if you don't have the opportunity to go to work for somebody for free, that's where the content will end up being the supplement for this, because it takes time and energy and dedication to post content regularly, consistently, for 3 months, for 6 months, for 12 months. That displays a commitment level that most people don't have, especially when you do it consistently. You post something once a week for 52 weeks, that displays consistency. So if you don't want to go work for a company for free on your weekends, then you dedicate your weekends to creating content that can display your knowledge and your skill set. And that ends up being the supplement to you doing free work, because again, you are doing free work. Because when you create content, you do it for free. You dedicate time and energy and you do it for free, and then you post that into the world to display your skill set. So this is very, very important. This is not something that when I was trying to get some, like, I was going through articles online and I was going and chatting with the various AIs, and I was like, yeah, I want to create this video for the cybersecurity career path. There was no free level. There was no free work that was mentioned. And I was like, okay, this is kind of insane that this isn't even being mentioned, no matter where you go to look at. And the idea of an apprentice seems so outdated, but it's not. It's one of those things that if you are willing to be an apprentice for somebody who really knows what the hell they're doing, and you use the concept of, I will apprentice for you for free if you will allow me to, and I will bust my ass and I will work my ass off because I want to get into this industry, and that by itself will just make you stand out. I'm telling you, it is so critical. The next level is the entry level, right? So internships can actually be paid internships. So you can gain experience through a paid internship or some kind of an entry-level position like a junior analyst or a junior security engineer. These are entry-level positions. But again, even the entry-level stuff is so competitive nowadays that if you don't have previous experience, if you just show up to the table with a certification, you don't have a portfolio, you don't have a GitHub repository, you don't have an online profile, you don't have any of those things, and you just went and got your certification, or you went to school and you got a degree, I am telling you, that is not enough. There are hundreds of thousands of people that are trying to apply to these jobs, and you're trying to compete against them. So if you don't do anything for free by developing your apprentice skill sets and going in and actually working for somebody, because again, when you do the free work stuff, you can actually put that on your resume, and you now also have somebody that can act as your reference. So when you apply to the entry level thing, that person is willing to say, yeah, you know what? John worked for me. He was a very, very hard worker. Jane was very committed, and she did everything that I asked her to do. She developed so quickly, and you would be a fool not to hire her because I can vouch for this person, especially if the person that you're putting down as your reference is somebody that is actually working for a big company or is well known, etc. Those are one of those things that you can't buy that kind of publicity. So you can do it for free, go work for free, or build a channel or a profile on Reddit or on LinkedIn or on Medium and post all of your content, and then you drop the link to that profile and you say, I have been doing all of this work for the last year. And it's just very, very hard to not at least look at that person and say, okay, you know what, this is one of the candidates that I actually want to interview. So it's very, very important to graduate from the free level stuff to the entry level stuff. And then once you're in an entry level position, you work there for a year or two, and you get to the point where you can now graduate to the mid-level stuff. So this could be a security architect. It could be an actual pen tester. It could be a security manager. It could be a digital forensics investigator, depending on what your specialty is, right? Depending on where you want to go. A security engineer, somebody who's a software developer, but you do it from the standpoint of security. So there are just so many roles that fill into the mid-level category, and at the mid-level category, you're making really, really good money. You're not making, $500,000 a year, but you are making really good money. You're probably making anywhere from $80,000 to $150,000 a year doing the mid-level stuff. The entry-level stuff is probably going to be anything from $35,000 to, let's say, $50,000 a year. just to be a security junior security analyst or something like that. You could literally be making $35,000-$40,000 a year being a junior security analyst, and all you're doing is just watching somebody do the job, and then you're taking notes and doing some very, very basic things. But now you're actually in the security realm. I have seen entry level work be posted for $55,000-$60,000 a year, and it's entry level. So it's like when you get into the mid level, you're going anywhere from 70 to 80 to 90, 100,000, $120,000 a year, and that is mid level work. And obviously, it has more responsibility, and you're learning more, and you're adding more value, and you are developing yourself to get into the senior level stuff. The senior level stuff requires anywhere from 7 to 10 years of experience. And these are the things like a chief information security officer, a security consultant, somebody who's on the research team, because they are trusted with their skill set and they're looking at massive amounts of data to develop some kind of training for somebody or for the company, things like that. When you're inside of the senior level stuff, a chief information security officer is making hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. A security consultant is more likely working for companies. They're not working for a single company. They'll probably work for 4 companies in a given year, and they are going to make, again, hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. And then there's this level of expertise that's developed when you go from mid-level to senior level, where you really are seeing what's going on inside of the workforce, inside of the industry at large, and you start seeing gaps. And you're like, you know what? It would be really cool if there was a tool that was developed to fill this gap. And you can start developing that tool, or you can start communicating with your peers and find somebody who's really good at coding and say, hey, listen, I have this idea. I think we can team up and build this company together. I'll take care of X, Y, and Z if you take care of A, B, C. And then you put a contract in place, you both sign the contract, and now you both are building this application, you're building this website, you're building this service, whatever it is, to fill in that gap. And you can then grow that company to be a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar company. You can sell it for several billion if you want to exit, and if you want to just cash out, you can do that. So this is not unheard of. This is something that happens all the time, where somebody works for Google for 7 years and they're like, you know what, there's actually this thing inside of Google or inside of the world of, tech, IT, that is a really big gap, and I know I can build something to fill in this gap. And then they do it, and now they go and start their own company, and then they cash out and they become billionaires. And that is very much a real thing. This is not an anomaly. This is not a story that you have never heard of. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of stories that go into this type of storyline, and the cash out is going to be different. You're right. So not everybody is going to end up building, an Instagram or building a Facebook or something. Not everybody's going to end up doing that, but you can build something that will sell for several million. So it may not necessarily be a $1 billion exit, but it could also be something that you just decide not to sell. You hold your stock, you hold your equity, and then you continue to build it. And as it grows, you end up getting this massive, massive equity, and eventually turn it into, what all of these stories are that you may have heard of, with people getting extremely wealthy inside of the tech space. So just keep that in mind. There are different routes for this. It just depends on you getting your foot in the door, right? This is the piece right here. This is the hardest part right here. This is the part that takes 90% of the people inside of the industry, and they just quit before they even get their foot in the door, because it was something that they thought might be interesting, and they were like, oh, you know what, it would be really cool if I became somebody inside of this space. And when it got difficult, or when they didn't get immediate results, they quit. I know people that were in the business. I was one of those people. I got in the industry in January 2023. For the first year, nothing happened, because it took me 6 months to finish my education. Then September of 2023 is when I got my CompTIA CYSA certification. January of 2024 is when I started the YouTube channel. And it took until 2025 for me to actually see some kind of a response and be noticed by people inside of this industry. So That's not something that other people will tell you. Other people will just be like, hey, come get a certification with our school, and you'll go get a job, a high-paying job. I'm telling you, that is not the case. The only thing that's really powerful with going to a school to do the work is that they require that you build a portfolio. They teach you something, and then they're like, okay, go build this project. And then now you can add that to your portfolio. So that's why it's exciting, or that's why it's useful to go to a school, because you build a portfolio while you learn. Now, the thing that I don't like about it is that you also have to pay $50,000 to get that education, when all you need is some discipline and you need YouTube University. If you're watching this video, if you're literally at this point of this video, that means you've been watching this video for a good 30 minutes. And if you're at this position, that means that you have the discipline to sit there and get educated. And if that's the case, go learn, go watch my Python video, build the scripts that we do inside of the Python video, go watch the video at the end of the Linux Plus playlist that we do a bunch of shell scripting, build those scripts. Like, there are ways that you can learn through YouTube and then build your portfolio as you learn. And now you have a dozen scripts inside of your GitHub repository. Next thing you know, you're standing out from all of your different competitors. So there are so many different ways to do this. It's just that most people give up. Most people don't put in the work. They think that it's going to be handed to them, and that is never the case. There's nothing good that will take place inside of any industry by doing that bare minimum work and by not dedicating the time or the energy. So I'm just letting you know right now, if you're not willing to put in the time, or if you're not willing to dedicate the energy, if you're not willing to develop yourself, this is not going to work for you, and you might as well go do something else. And this is where the concept of going on the offensive comes into play. So what do I mean by going on the offensive? What I mean is this. There is the concept of learning, right? Developing yourself, developing your skill set. And then there's the concept of going after it, getting the freaking thing done. And that requires tenacity, it requires audacity, and it requires persistence. So until you land a job, your job is to apply to jobs. Okay? Let's do that again. Until you get a job, your job is to apply to jobs. Meaning, you dedicate an hour a day, every single day, and you apply to jobs for an hour per day. It is a job. You treat it as if somebody is paying you to sit there and submit job applications. That is literally your job. Until you get the job, until you actually work for a company where they're paying you to do the work, your job is to apply to jobs. So if you're working full-time somewhere right now, your part-time job is to apply to internships, to apply to apprenticeships. That's your only job. So for an hour a day, for 2 hours a day, every single freaking day, on top of your full-time job that you're actually doing right now, you are going to apply to jobs, okay? And now this does not mean go and blast apply, just send the same generic resume to every single job posting. That is not what it means. Mass applications combined with customization is what the recipe is. Meaning, you see a job for a security analyst and you go look at the job posting, you use a tool like Gemini, or you use a tool like Meta AI or ChatGPT, and you say, here's the job posting, here's my resume, please customize my resume to fit into this job posting. Please customize my cover letter to fit into this job posting. And then you apply to that job, and then you move on to the next one. Okay, so this is now a security engineer, whatever. And it's like, okay, great. So you look at the job posting, you take the job description, you post it into the AI, and you say, now please customize my resume to fit this job description. And what this does is that it requires 5 to 10 minutes per application instead of requiring 2 minutes. Instead of going to LinkedIn jobs and clicking easy apply. Do you know how many freaking people are clicking easy apply? That's not how it works. That's not how you win. There are hundreds of applicants that do that. And so on top of the easy apply of LinkedIn, you go to the company website, right? So here's where it becomes really interesting. So the job board is LinkedIn Jobs, it's Indeed, it's Monster, ZipRecruiter. These are called job boards, okay? You have the job board that has the job description and the application, and then you actually have the company's website that also has the job that you just applied to. So you apply through the job board, and then you go to the company's website, you find the exact job that you applied for, and then you apply through the company website as well, okay? And then there are job fairs, and then there are networking events, and then there are referrals, and then there are everything else that's in between of all of these different vectors, right? So this is an attack vector. If you really think about it, this is what cybersecurity is, right? We find attack vectors to attack. This is what this means. You find multiple vectors and you attack. You go on the offensive and you do it every single day until you get the job. And this is the thing that makes most people weed themselves out, because some people can do it for a week. Some people could do it for a month. Not very many people can do it for 3 months. Even fewer people can do it for 6 months. And even fewer people can do it for a year. And I have heard countless stories where it's like, oh, you know what? I applied to, the company that I'm working at right now, I applied to twice. They denied me. They didn't even have me go interview. And then the third time that I applied, I went through networking. I went and met somebody on LinkedIn that worked for the company. I built a relationship with that person, and then I was like, hey, listen, I'm thinking about applying to this job. What do you think about the company? And they're like, oh, yeah, it's a great company, great culture, so on and so forth. You should definitely apply to it. Okay, great. You know what? I think I'm going to apply to it. You convinced me. Can I put your name down as a reference? And they're like, yeah, sure, put me down as a referral. And that was it. And then next thing you know, I got an email saying, hey, we want to interview you. Next thing you know, I built a relationship with the people who did my initial interview. And then I built a relationship with the person who did my second interview. I connected with them on LinkedIn. I went and messaged them. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting with you. Thank you in advance for the opportunity. Even if I don't get this, thank you so much. I learned so much from the interview. These types of things are not done by the average person. And if you want to stand out, especially in the tech space, because I used to come back from a background of sales. So it's like, that's something that you do in sales. If you're coming from tech, you're like, okay, I applied, I did my job. And it's like, nah, bruh, you need to go and develop a relationship. You need to go ahead and schmooze with these people, right? This is why they have networking events. This is why they have job fairs where you go to a location and you meet the people and you shake hands and you say, hey, I'm this person. And then they look at the way you dress and they will look at the way that you carry yourself and they look at the way that you communicate. All of those things are taken into consideration when considering an applicant. And if you're not willing to do that, if all you're going to do is sit there and click easy apply, so you can just send the same freaking tired resume to every single job post, you are not going to get the job. Let me just say that again. If you're going to just click easy apply or quick apply or whatever the freaking button is on the job board, if you're just going to do that and send the same freaking resume to every single job application, you are not going to get the job, because you're sending a generic resume and you're sending it to a security analyst, security engineer, digital forensics, pen tester. You're sending the same resume to every single job post, and they all have different requirements. And most recruiters on LinkedIn will tell you the majority of the time that they're spending is weeding through BS applications, because most people who applied aren't even qualified. They applied because they thought they were like, it's like, what are you doing, bro? You have to demonstrate the fact that you read the freaking job description. You have to demonstrate the fact that your skills are at least relevant to what they're asking for. Maybe you don't have every skill set, but at least position your cover letter to say, hey, you know what? I may be lacking this, and this, but I'm really, really good at these things inside of the job posting. And I think this is one of the reasons why I would be a good candidate. If you're just sending, hey, dear hiring manager, I'm interested to work at this company because of this, and I have this certification, and it's like, bro, you are not going to get the job. I can't stress that enough. And the last point is that quitting is not an option. If you really want to get into this field, your ability to persist is most likely going to be more important than your actual skill set. You could be an amazing coder and you just applied to one job, or you applied to a company once, or you applied to 10 jobs, or whatever it is, but you didn't persist. After a month, you gave up. After 2 months, you gave up. After 6 months, you gave up. This is not an option. If you want to get into this field, and I think you should, right? If you're watching this video, that means you really want to get into this field. If you're at this point of this video, that means you really want to get into this field. So if you really do want to get into this field and you're passionate enough, then it doesn't matter how long it will take. It shouldn't matter how long it will take. You will do everything that is absolutely necessary until you get the job. Until you land the job is to apply to jobs. That means that it's not an option to quit. It's not an option to stop applying. It's not an option to stop developing. It's not an option to stop building your portfolio. It's not an option. This is not an option. The only option that's available is that you're going to get the job. It just matters when you're going to get the job. You're going to continue to develop yourself, and it just matters when that happens, when it takes place, where your development will cross paths and intersect with somebody wanting to hire you. Quitting is not an option. You can't do this without an income, so you need a day job. You need something to actually help you buy food and pay your bills. That part's fine, unless like you live with your parents and your parents are willing to finance you and they're willing to pay for you as you go through this. But that would be the situation where it's like, okay, well, if you don't have a day job, that means you can apply to jobs for 10 hours a day. You should be applying to hundreds of jobs per month. And that will obviously get you a job faster because the volume is like a key element of this. But if you're working a day job, if you're working a 40-hour full-time job, then you have another good 20, 30 hours per week that you can dedicate to applying to more jobs, to developing your skill set, to building your portfolio, so on and so forth. So quitting is not an option. If you can plant your feet and just commit and make that decision that I'm going to do this until I get this, if you're willing to do that, then you're good. It's a matter of when. It's not a matter of if. And it's very interesting how the universe works. If you have already made that internal decision and you just have the resolve and you're like, I'm going to do this no matter what, it ends up usually happening sooner than later. If you're wishy-washy about it, if you are iffy, if you are inconsistent, if you the energy behind it, if that energy is not there, if that tenacity is not there, then the universe won't be sure if you really want it or not, because at any point you're willing to quit. But if you just say, no matter what happens, I'm not quitting. I may not get this job ever, but I'm not quitting. If you say that and really mean it to yourself, it doesn't matter who you're saying it to. If you actually say that and really mean it, it'll happen so much faster than you thought it would. So just kind of throwing that piece out there as well. And finally, you want to stay ahead of the curve. And this could happen after you've already got a job, right? So you want to stay competitive. You want to stay developing. You want to stay ahead of the masses. And the way that you do that is you continuously learn. This is not something that you have not heard of before. I'm not going to beat these bullets to death by just trying to explain these things or over-explain these things. Stay updated on the latest trends. Stay updated on the latest tech. Develop your best practices through online courses. Get more certifications. Learn about industry publications. You can curate content. That's another really great way of doing this, is like you subscribe to a bunch of industry publications and you take the things that are most interesting to you and then you curate them through your Instagram or through your LinkedIn, and you just share them and you maintain your active status by doing that information, by doing those activities. But it also helps you to continually develop yourself and continuously learn. Network constantly, establish a community, either be involved in a community or start a community. And this could be with other cybersecurity professionals. You can go into conferences, you can go into online forums, industry events of any type, hacking conferences, or local networking groups. Start a networking group, start a networking community online, whatever it may be. It's important to at least start one or to get involved in one. But if you can start one, that also is really, really powerful, and you start building a community around yourself, and it makes you stand out even more. And specialize, right? So consider finding one specific area that is the most interesting to you, and then go all in into that area. And that will, all of the energy that you have, because you're limited on energy. So whatever energy you have, if you're specializing, then you're really, really getting good at this one specific thing, and you become a sniper. Instead of trying to use the shotgun approach and become everything to everybody, you get really, really good at one thing, and then that thing ends up being the thing that you become masterful at, and then you stand out, and then you can go ahead and apply to jobs only for that category, and most likely you will end up getting those jobs. And I'll leave you with this, okay? I believe that you can do this. It's not a matter of, oh, it's very difficult to do. Everybody can sit there. If you're watching this video, you know how to use the internet, you know how to use YouTube, and you know how to do research and type something in. So you have the basic skill set of typing, of searching, of reading and listening. You have those skill sets. So you can do it. It's not a matter of whether or not you can do it. It's a matter of whether or not you will do it, right? So it's a cliche thing, but where there's a will, there is a way. So if you are willing to sit there, apply, go take the description of the job, go to ChatGPT, put the description, take your resume, hey, customize this for me. If you're willing to do that, then there is a way that you can actually get the life that you're anticipating, or the life that you want. You can do it. That part of it is for sure. I know 100% that you can do it. So take that out of your mind. Don't doubt whether or not you can do it. The only question is whether or not you will do it. And that has to do with your belief systems. And I did the philosophy of a hacker, or a hacker philosophy video. I'm going to start doing a little bit more videos like this one, because I think it's important to embed belief into you. I think it's important to let you know about everything else that's intangible when it comes down to the world of security and technology, because there's a lot of technical advice that I can give you, and those things are extremely important. But if you don't have the belief system that will drive you to apply to the job, to build a portfolio, to do the things that are needed to make the rubber meet the road, right? Like there's a moment where there's a position, there's a point where the knowledge has to actually be applied. And if you're not willing to apply that knowledge, doesn't matter how much you learn, doesn't matter what you know, means nothing. If you apply the knowledge, if you do the stuff, do the actions and the activity, then there is a result that comes from it. It's the law of causality. It's the law of cause and effect. You do something, there's a response. You do 1,000,000 repetitions of something, there's a response. So who has a better chance of doing or getting the result, right? Who has a better chance of getting the result? Me, who did 10 repetitions, or Josephine, who did 5,000 repetitions? It's like most likely she's going to get the result because she did 5,000 repetitions and I did 10. So volume is important. And the only way that you can persist and do that type of volume is your belief system. What is your belief system? Do you have that belief that this will happen for you? Do you have a belief in yourself or not? And this is one of those things that can be developed. And there's a whole other conversation. It's NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. It's what you listen to. It's what you watch. It's where your time and energy goes. All of those things feed into what your belief system is. And if you do those things, you have a strong belief system. Therefore, you will take strong action. If you waste your time watching Netflix, or if you hang out with people who are idiots and don't have anything going for them and they doubt you every step of the way, then most likely you're not going to have a strong belief system, which means you will not take the action. It's very it's very simple. It's like a binary kind of a thing. Either you do the things that will support you and then you end up doing the job, or you do the things that don't support you and then you end up not doing the job. And that's basically it. So I hope you found value from this video. This ended up being much longer than I thought it was going to be because I didn't have very many slides, but I ended up talking a lot because it's exciting to me. This is an important topic to me, and I wanted to make sure that I delivered as much energy to you and as much value to you as possible. So hopefully some of that energy was contagious, and hopefully it gave you, shed some light for you, and it helped you get a better understanding of what it could be, what your pathway should be like to actually set yourself up for success and actually get a job, a career in cybersecurity. If you have any questions, drop it in the comment section below. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, all that good stuff. And that's it. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker / protector. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you. Love, peace, and chicken grease, and I will see you in the next video later.